team. Broke team. Broke team.
Exactly, we're the broke team. We're here to rock.
Broke team. Broke team.
BT.
Yeah. Shout out Dante Boxing Nation.
My man. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So you know Gennady Golovkin has already said he only really wants to fight Canelo Alvarez in the third fight. He's made it very clear. He even said that even if Danny Jacobs wins the fight, he still only wants to fight Canelo Alvarez. But now the question is, how bad does Golovkin really want to fight Canelo? Because Canelo just recently said that he's only fighting Golovkin if Golovkin has a title, which would mean Golovkin would have to fight the WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Andrade. And we can clearly tell Golovkin is in no hurry to fight for that title. This is what Canelo had to say, quote, "Look, first things first, we have a tough, difficult fight ahead of us. But as a team, we have a goal, and the objective of this year is to win all the belts. If Golovkin has a belt, yes, why not? We've given the fans two beautiful fights, two great fights. Why not a third? If Golovkin has a belt by the end of the year, then yes, we gladly fight him. If he doesn't, we'll see how it falls later, how it plays out. But right now, my first objective, my first goals is May 4th to pick up that belt." End quote. End quote. I'm gonna tell you guys something. This is exactly what Canelo Alvarez should do. This is exactly what DAZN and Golden Boy should do. They should all come together and force Gennady Golovkin to get in the ring with the WBO champion, Demetrius Andrade. Because it is completely unfair, and I've been telling you guys on numerous videos, it's completely unfair that Canelo Alvarez, while he has to fight a tough opponent, Golovkin, he gets to cherry pick all the way to the top. It's unfair. In every other sport, you have to qualify to fight in the finals, in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. You have to earn that privilege. They don't just hand it over to you. So boxing should be no different. There should be no way Golovkin gets to fight all the Hassan and Dams, gets to avoid the tough fights like Jermall Charlo, Sergey Derevyanchenko, Demetrius Andrade, just so he could try to fight Brandon Adams. Which the plan to fight Brandon Adams had backfired because Jermall Charlo ended up taking that opponent from Gennady Golovkin. And let me just go ahead and educate these Canelo and Golovkin fans for a second. Once again, the ones that can't stand these fighters on a coincidental list, and you try to compare what Golovkin is doing to what Jermall Charlo is doing. Because I hear some of these fans say, oh man, well you guys were calling it cherry picking when Gennady Golovkin wanted to fight against Brandon Adams. Let me break this down for you guys. It's education time. The true definition, the true art of cherry picking is when you avoid the toughest competition to pick the weakest opposition. That is exactly what Gennady Golovkin did. Golovkin, he turned down fights against Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, so that he could fight an easier opponent. When it comes to Jermall Charlo is calling out Golovkin. Jermall Charlo is calling out Canelo. So if it wasn't for Gennady Golovkin ducking Jermall Charlo, neither one of them would be fighting Brandon Adams. Because that's not what Jermall wants. Jermall wants the complete opposite of what Gennady Golovkin wants. Golovkin, he only wants to be in there with the easiest opponents. But Jermall Charlo, he wants Golovkin. He wants Canelo. Now, unless you guys feel that Canelo and Golovkin are a bunch of bums, then I guess you could say, yeah, Jermall, he's cherry picking. But if you believe that Canelo is pound for pound one of the best, you believe that Golovkin is one of the best, then once again, we know that Jermall Charlo, he is going after the best fighters. I mean, that's no different than the Deontay Wilder situation. We know that Deontay Wilder, if it were up to him, he would be either fighting Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. But since neither one of those guys wants to fight him, he's fighting against Dominic Breazeale. You can't blame Deontay Wilder if the best guys won't get in the ring. So now at this point, it doesn't matter who Deontay Wilder fights because we know who he wants to fight. And it's out of his control getting them in the ring. Something else these fans say that doesn't make any sense. When they say, hey, well, of course he wants to fight Canelo because that's the guy that beat him, etc., etc. But remember, guys, he's not fighting against Canelo next. So why didn't he take on Demetrius Andrade while he waits to fight Canelo Alvarez? You see how that excuse makes no sense? If he's fighting against Hassam Ndam or Steve Rowe or one of these guys, if he's fighting against these guys, why wouldn't he go out and attempt to win another belt? Not only does that make all the sense in the world because Canelo Alvarez is fighting to unify belts, but also Gennady Golovkin, he will get more leverage going into negotiations for a third fight if he has a title, which is one of the reasons why Canelo Alvarez is saying, I'm only fighting you if you have a belt. So at the end of the day, I don't know how serious Canelo is when he says he's only going to fight Golovkin if he has a belt, because Team Canelo, they've been all over the place. You know, I mean, at one point they said he needs to fight Charlo first. Then all of a sudden they start negotiating with Gennady Golovkin. And it was Golovkin that didn't want the fight at the time. Then they went after Danny Jacobs. Now we're hearing Canelo say, I'm not going to fight Golovkin unless he has a belt. So we don't know if Canelo is just saying this, but I hope he's going to stick to his guns because it makes sense, especially for the fans. Once again, if you're a real boxing fan, you want to see the best fight the best. In every other sport, you want to see the best teams play against the best teams, right? Only in the sport of boxing do you have fans that don't want to see their favorite fighters go up against the best because they are so afraid that their favorite fighter or one of their favorite fighters will lose, which means they have no confidence in Gennady Golovkin. That makes no sense in the world. So Gennady Golovkin, once again, going back to these excuses that they make. So you say Gennady Golovkin is too old, etc., but he's not too old to fight against Canelo. So what are you guys saying about Canelo? Are you guys admitting that you believe Canelo is just an easier win as opposed to fighters like Danny Jacobs, a rematch with Danny Jacobs, or Jamal Charlo, Sergey Derevyevchenko, Demetrius Andrade? Is that what you guys are saying? Clearly you must be saying that because they've already said that Golovkin has already beat Canelo Alvarez, and that means they believe that Golovkin will beat Canelo again. Guys, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit over here and say Golovkin is too old to fight against the Demetrius Andrades and the Charlos, but he's not too old to fight against Canelo Alvarez. It doesn't make sense. And furthermore, if you're saying Golovkin is too old to fight against Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, but you believe this same Golovkin beat Canelo in the rematch, what does that say about Canelo Alvarez? That says that you guys believe Canelo is not on the level of a Charlo or Demetrius Andrade, right? Because by your own admission, you're saying that you thought Golovkin beat Canelo, but he's too old to fight against an Andrade or a Charlo. And when you make an excuse like that, you're worried about him getting hurt. You're saying, nah, man, if he goes in there with an Andrade or a Charlo, they may end up knocking him out. But when it comes to Canelo, that's a different story because Golovkin, he can beat Canelo. You see how you guys telling yourself and you don't even realize it? So once again, guys, I commend Canelo Alvarez if he sticks to his guns. There's no doubt about it. This is exactly what Golovkin should have to do to get a Canelo Alvarez fight. I'm gonna say it again. It is completely unfair that while Canelo and Danny Jacobs, they have to go through the playoffs in the most dangerous fights, Gennady Golovkin, he gets to cherry pick and then wait around so he can fight the guy he really wants to fight. The only guy he feels he has a chance of beating, which is Canelo Alvarez. Canelo shouldn't allow this to happen, and DAZN, they need to do something about this. Once again, man, if you are going to pay Gennady Golovkin millions and millions of dollars, there is no way he should get to fight the Hassan Ndoms, the Steve Rose, the Brandon Adams throughout this entire 6-fight deal without providing fans any of the most meaningful fights. I'm telling you guys right now, Golovkin fighting against the Ndoms and all these soft touches, that's going to really, really backfire on DAZN, because people are not going to be willing to sign up to DAZN or be loyal to a 1-year membership knowing Golovkin is always going to be involved in fights that no one really wants to watch. People will definitely sign up and pay for a Canelo versus Danny Jacobs fight, but all of these fights should be on the level of a Danny Jacobs versus Canelo. So this is the reason why I don't understand why some of these Golovkin fans, they start crying and they start saying, hey man, why are you guys mistreating Gennady Golovkin, etc., etc., etc. I want to ask you a question. You name me one fighter on the coincidental list that are making the same moves that Gennady Golovkin has been making his entire career that gets praised for it by anybody. Because you got fighters on the coincidental list that actually fight the best competition and they still get criticized more than Gennady Golovkin. And we know why. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. Once again, guys, make sure you tune into the radio show this Sunday. You guys can call in. Canelo fans, Golovkin fans, I really want you guys to call in because you guys love filling up the comment section, almost hoping that I don't surprise you and respond to something crazy you say in the comment section. I'm giving you guys an opportunity to call in so we can actually talk about anything I said you disagree with and why. You know, the last video I did about Canelo or Golovkin, I actually reached out to about 7 fans that was talking reckless in the comment section, and I invited them to come onto the show so we can actually talk about what they were posting in the comment section, and they didn't respond. None of them responded. So once again, whatever you have to say, you guys can call me up and we can have a discussion and talk about Golovkin. We could talk about Canelo. We could talk about Charlo, whoever you guys want to talk about, okay? That's what it is. So once again, if you disagree with anything I had to say, put it in the comment section. Say, Dante, I want to be a guest on the show. I want to talk about this. And then I'll go ahead and send you a message. Now, because I do get a lot of messages, after a couple days, once I start making other videos, I can't always come back and look at all the messages. But the first day the video is up, I will definitely be looking at your message because I want to get you on the show. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.